Margaret and Fred, welcome back to the podcast. I'm so excited to have you both back on here.
Thank you. We're excited to be here.
Yeah, that's it's been a little while. Yeah, excited to talk about our story.
Yeah, it has been actually a couple of years since both of you have been on together. I think you've both been on
Yes.
individually for like hot seats and stuff like that, but I don't think we've had both of you here together for a while.
Yeah.
And I think the timing of this is extra special because it's your 3-year JBA anniversary, which is
Yes.
Yeah.
crazy.
I know. Time flies.
Yeah. So
Time
I think
flies.
we just signed on for our third year, but we've only been in for 2 years.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah.
this
So we're
we're
going
just
into the
starting our
third
third
year.
year.
I know. Yeah. So this is perfect timing because it's kind of nice to do like a check-in and celebration of like what's happening, what you've achieved, and just show people listening who maybe are in a similar position to where you were a few years ago in building your business, who maybe have lost a little bit of hope, who maybe are considering quitting, because I think that was part of your story at one point. It was
Yeah.
like, do we throw in the towel here? Do we call it quits? Or do we keep showing up and do we keep building this business? And so I think it's going to be really inspiring to hear from you and how you've navigated the highs and lows of life and kept showing up for Centering Pendants for your business and kept showing up on social media and kept like leaning into the discomfort and the fear that comes with taking up space and using your voice and building community because that's such a vulnerable thing to do. And so yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. And I think to kick us off, let's start with a brief overview. If you guys can give me a little throwback to where you were before you came in 2 and a bit years ago, before you came and joined us in the Jewelry Business Academy. And give us also a brief overview of Centering Pendants.
Okay. So I'm Margaret Graham, and I'm the founder of Centering Pendants, and this is my husband Fred, who helps a lot in the background, but also at events and things. And the pendants are intentionally concave on both sides and have an opening in the middle so that when you reach for it, your fingers slide to the center and touch, creating a mudra that is calming and grounding and helps connect you with like your higher wisdom, your capital S self. And prior to joining the JBA with you, Robyn, I was ready to quit.
Yeah.
I knew that I had a good concept, a good product. But with ADHD and depression, I was just having a hard time knowing what was the next right step and feeling confident in being able to make the business a success. So,
And neither of us are business people. My background is engineering. Margaret is art. And so we were struggling along trying to start this business, but without having the structures and the processes in place, and without really understanding what we needed to do for business. So,
yeah. Robyn, I've always been a lucky person. And so
yes,
before joining the JBA, I could, throw an idea at the wall and sometimes it would stick, right? I get lucky. But in terms of like longevity and having something that would actually continue to work and looking at data points and things, like, no, that wasn't happening.
Oh man, it's crazy to me that there was a possibility in this lifetime that you shut down Centering Pendants. It's just absolutely crazy to me because your jewelry is so much more than just jewelry. Your jewelry is life-changing for people with anxiety or just like people going through the human experience who need that reminder to breathe. And when they're going through like, I don't know, dealing with traffic or dealing with conflict in their life or dealing with a lot of anxiety or depression, like your jewelry is not just jewelry. It's a tool that has impacted so many people over the years. What's your favorite story of like how your jewelry has impacted a customer? Is there, you probably have so many that come to mind, but is there one that you can share with us?
There are quite a few that were
Oh,
um, unexpected because I have always sold this as just a thing to remind you to take a few deep breaths and like common sense to yourself. But then I was getting people messaging me that it was helping them through cancer treatments. And a friend of mine used it to help her through childbirth. I think the most recent one, though, that really touched me was a mom whose 4-year-old daughter was getting ready to start school and she was anxious about being away from her mom. And so the mom bought her 4-year-old like a smaller version of the pendant she already owned so that the child could take it to school with them and be reminded that they were always connected with mom. And I just thought that that was really beautiful. I love the idea of parents teaching their children mindfulness, using this as a tool, and yeah, that really just touches me and reminds me that I'm bringing hope to the world.
You're
Now,
bringing so
one
much hope to the world.
another
Yeah.
story, at the last festival we were at, Margaret had stepped away, and some ladies had come up to the booth, and I was explaining. I told them to touch and reach for the pendant and then hold it. One of my favorite things is to see people's reaction because when they actually touch it, you can actually see the change in their face that they realize, oh, they get it. But I was explaining the meaning and the purpose behind the pendant to these women. And one of them, you could see her visibly tearing up, and she had to step away from the booth because she said, I'm sorry. It's like, I apologize, but the meaning and the feeling behind that just made me so emotional. And,
Wow.
it really reached her. It really touched her. And so it was again, it's a powerful message to us to say, it isn't just jewelry.
Mm.
Uh,
Oh my gosh, these stories gave me chills.
well,
And yeah, it's such a beautiful reminder of like the impact that your business has
yeah.
on the world. And I'd almost say at this stage you have a responsibility to keep showing up and to keep talking about what you do and talking about your jewelry and building your community and growing your sales, because it's not sales, it's like what are you giving to the world through your jewelry? You're giving so much life, like you're probably saving a good number of people's lives as well without even realizing it.
Well,
So
so can we backtrack for a second? Because I would like to
yeah.
that point when Margaret was talking about quitting the business. Yeah, ironically, she had forwarded me your podcast uh, previously, and I had been listening to your podcast for a while.
Mhm.
And basically, every time I go cut the grass, I'd put in my AirPods and headphones and go cut the grass and listen to your listen to your podcast. And then I would forward, oh, this episode, this resonates, Margaret. You need to listen to this one. But it's still, Margaret was still struggling and wanting to throw in the towel. And I was like, okay, before we do this, because yeah, as you well know, Robyn, I'm her biggest cheerleader,
Yeah.
and I really believe in what she's got. I believe in the product and I believe in what she's created. And so I said, I've been listening to Robyn's podcast for a while. Let's reach out and at least have the interview and talk to Robyn and her team first before we make a decision. And after the call, I didn't realize it at the time at the call, but that was with your mom. I
It
didn't realize that
was.
was, yeah, she interviewed us. And at the end of the call, I convinced Margaret, it's like, I think it's worth it. Let's jump in. And it really has, it has been, I hate the term game changing because that's overused, but it saved our business. I mean, we probably would not be here, still in business with Centering Pendants.
100%.
Wow. Oh my
So,
goodness.
so thank you.
Well, that makes me so happy to hear. And there's two things I want to talk about here, because first is you are the biggest cheerleader of Margaret, and it's been like honestly, the community in our program loves seeing it. Like it's so beautiful to see a husband cheering on and supporting his wife to take up more space and grow a business bigger. And it's just such a beautiful thing to see. And you're relentless in your cheerleading, Fred. And it's actually spread over to cheerleading for all of our clients in the JBA.
Yeah.
And when you came to the retreat, you are, I would say, one of the biggest cheerleaders within the community. So we have a funny story / embarrassing story about this that I found out live on the podcast a few years ago. But go ahead and Margaret or Fred, one of
So
you tell us the story.
if you're just listening, I'm wearing a shirt that says, "I am the chief hot officer." And so this started, because I'm such a cheerleader, Robyn, you basically anointed me with the title of chief heart officer. And that went on for months, calling me the chief heart officer as the cheerleader. And because of your South African accent, Margaret, the entire time, thought you were saying chief hot officer. And we were sitting around one day talking. I think we were with your cousin. Yeah. And I mentioned, chief heart officer. And Margaret was like, I thought she said chief hot officer. And I fell over. I cracked up. And it's like, oh my God, you've been going for months thinking that Robyn's calling me the chief hot officer. So yeah, I had the T-shirt made. I'm the chief hot officer. But that honestly, I've repeated that story so many times because I think it's one of the funniest things I've ever heard.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I nearly died when Margaret told me this on a podcast live. That's how I found out. It's so funny. And I love the t-shirts. And I think you bought one for Cheryl at the retreat as well. Like, so cute. But yes, you are the biggest cheerleader and it's just beautiful to see. And I know from talking to some of our other clients, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but I think some of them have gone to their partners and been like, oh, like I've seen an example of how someone can be so supportive where it's like, now I don't necessarily want to tolerate the way that you've been acting towards me and my business. And like, I've seen what's possible here. And so I don't even think you realize the impact of women seeing what it is possible to have someone who's such a big cheerleader of them. So I love that so much. And now the other thing is you were listening to the podcast for a couple of months before even coming in. And I think one of your questions, if I remember correctly, was like, well, I've been listening to the podcast, but like, how is the program different for someone who's been listening to the podcast? Because we've had people listening for years and years and years, and they're like, oh, I don't need the Jewelry Business Academy. I don't need to work with Robyn because the podcast is great and I'm already seeing like growth and results. What would you say to them?
Well, this is the reason that we're still in. I mean, for me, because Robyn, as a person with depression, like I need the support system of the other people of the community, of the live coaching calls where, sometimes it's not even like a business question. I'm just like, Robyn, can you please give me a pep talk so that I can go and talk to this store owner, with more confidence. And like, I need that. It's to see the whole community coming together like twice a week. And a lot of times we're asking the same questions, but I also, as a person with ADHD, need to hear the same answers over and over again for it to really stick. And that's just invaluable to me. And then also I'll say like, as a person who struggles with depression, like isolation is part of that. And so without the community, I can just stay to myself and try to work out my own problems in my head. And it just actually ends up getting worse. So having that community aspect and meeting on a regular basis really helps pull me out of my head and back into the game, back into the, getting the work done, running the business, and just getting that community support and getting a little Robyn pep talk whenever I need it is really beneficial.
and I'll add to that. So, you're talking about that prior to joining your group. We had actually paid for and gotten some other consultants and help, and honestly, that it failed miserably. We ended up spending far more money and losing far more money than we had spent on joining the JBA, and not getting any results, not getting really anything out of it. And so there was always that concerns, like, okay, how do we know Robyn's, program is going to actually be better? So yes, during the interview, I was concerned about that, and I asked questions. It's like, okay, because my biggest concern was, is this going to be a high level, rah rah, type of program without details? And so that during the interview process, we got reassured about, okay, no, we actually have a step by step and some programs and details and answer questions. And there, you're always, before you pull the trigger, you always, okay, that sounds good. Is it real? But I felt strongly enough after listening to the podcast that you knew what you were talking about. You've got a background with jewelry and marketing, and so I felt like you knew how to really steer artists in the correct direction. And then with answering the questions, I felt it was worth the gamble, and I'm glad we took it, because it's there are detailed information, and the community, as Margaret mentioned, the community is phenomenal in having the calls twice a week, and you're very good about answering detailed questions and going into detail with every single person with their questions, even though, like we said, the questions, a lot of times you see the same types or topics come up over and over again. But you're very patient. You're very good about directing. You're also very good about not pulling punches. I didn't know. I don't want to say you don't punch anybody, but you don't.
I hope not.
You're willing to say that's good, but we need to steer it in, and you're very gentle about that. But I just think the program itself is been very, very helpful, certainly for us.
I love hearing that. That's wonderful. And, I want to talk a little bit about some of the wins that you've experienced over the last two-ish years since coming in and joining us. And I'd love to say that when clients come into the Jewelry Business Academy, we wave a little wand and bam, you get results just like that. But that's just not how it works. And so when we're sharing these wins and talking about these wins, I just want to be very clear, like, you guys showed up and took action. Like, these wins are your wins because you're the ones who actually took action. You showed up, you did the work, you did the vulnerable work, you did the uncomfortable work. And so are there any wins that you want to share from like the last 2 years when you look at like where you were when you got started and how far you've come now? It can be mindset, it can be sales, it can be refining your systems and collections, or whatever comes to mind.
One of the biggest wins we've had since getting your coaching, Robyn, is the implementation of SOPs, which prior to coming in, I didn't even know what that stood for. And getting more organized with those, and paring down the amount of pieces in my collection has been really beneficial for me just this year, and being able to leave out of the country for 3 weeks to India and have somebody else take care of the business, and then to go on a 10-day meditation where I didn't even have access to my phone or the internet or anything, and for the business to still be running in the background. So the organization, the SOPs, has allowed me to not do everything in the business anymore, because now someone knows how to do it, or there's instructions of how to do it, and just that organization alone has freed me up to do things that I really enjoy.
Oh, I love that so much. That's so impactful, and it's actually making me think. So yeah, you've been on a couple of trips, and Fred and Austin held down the fort and kept the business running, following these SOPs that you've spent a lot of time like refining and implementing. And I think a lot of people's concern when it comes to like going all in on their business, um, at a stage of life where maybe they're like, I don't want to be hustling all the time. I want like some free time. I want to have a slow living kind of lifestyle, but like it just doesn't seem like it's possible. I feel like you've got a relatively good, I don't even want to use the word balance here, because there's probably days that you do double down, but then there's also days where I think you are able to live a little bit more, if that makes sense. Talk us through that.
Yeah.
What does that look like?
I agree with you. We do intentionally keep a balance between work and life so that we don't end up working even 40 hours a week, or if we do, it doesn't even feel like it. Um,
Yeah, we have short periods where we're making a push. Like we've got a big festival coming up, so we'll work a few extra hours getting ready for that. But the reality is we take our time in the morning. Most of the time, we're not actually starting until probably 11 o'clock or noon before we actually start our day, because we're taking our time and having our coffee and relaxing. And obviously we do change that sometimes, but most of the mornings we're just kind of getting up when we get up and then having our coffee and leisurely just working into it. And yeah, well, it's
I think recently when we launched the Pretty Good Year pendant, my 10-day meditation was right in the middle of that launch.
yeah,
And Robin, all I had to do was use your framework for the launch framework that you had recently gone over and schedule the posts coming out so that it felt like to my audience that I was here
You were there.
and preparing for the launch. But I was actually away. So, I mean, that was just really instrumental in me being able to come back and feeling like I had kept pace with the launch, that I hadn't been away, and that we were just ready to go. I remember telling you, Robin, on a recent call that like that was the calmest I had been going into a launch
yeah.
because I'd already written emails, already had things scheduled. So it's just nice being able to relax and seeing the plan, come to life.
I love that so much. It's so beautiful. And I know we're gonna have people listening who are like, "Well, that's nice for Margaret," but like, I'm just like, maybe they're also struggling with depression, or whatever. And we sometimes tell ourselves, "This is the reason it will never work for me." And I think there's this danger online, especially when people see wins and they see people building businesses or going on trips and the business keeps rolling, even though you're still in the early stages and still wanting to scale far beyond where you're at right now. But there's this danger of people seeing these wins and saying, well, of course it worked for Margaret, or of course it worked for Fred, but it would never work for me. And this is a mindset block that honestly will keep a lot of people small. It will stop a lot of women, especially, from doing what they need to do, even if it's baby steps, from showing up and growing their business and growing their community and showing up online and doing launches. And even it will stop a lot of people from being like, oh, I can actually set up the business in a way where I can go on trips. And instead of doing that, they'll just shut the business down and get a normal job. So talk to us a little bit about like the mindset work you've had to do to get to this place, because you've done a really phenomenal job with that.
Thanks, Robin. I do my best. It's a struggle sometimes, and that again is why I come back around to the isolation and the community being so important. So, like, when I'm in my head about what could go wrong or what's definitely going to go wrong, I find that the more I just keep that inside and start to build it as truth in my own head, that it just becomes worse and worse. Whereas if I just tell someone like, hey, this is my biggest fear, this is my biggest concern, I'm afraid this is how it's always going to be, just telling somebody helps me get through that, just to like know that someone knows the inner working, my worst fears, right?
Mhm.
And I think what I've worked on is just being honest about that and telling somebody and airing it out and getting advice, getting help. I can tend to be a person that feels embarrassed that I keep needing more help. I keep needing more help. I keep thinking the same things. I keep getting stuck in, doomsday thinking. And I just have persevered by continuing to tell people that it's hard and it's a struggle and I still fear this, and let them help me bring me out of it.
Mhm. Wow, that's so beautiful, Margaret. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm so glad you did, because this idea of being embarrassed around needing help all the time, and needing people to check in and needing support of like pulling ourselves out of our mind essentially, is something that I've
Totally.
dealt with as well. And I think I don't really talk about it that much, but because the reason I am where I am today is I have therapy sessions booked in multiple times a month. When I'm going through a launch, we double down on therapy. When it's my birthday, man, do you know how many therapy sessions I need that week just to get through the week? And I think people just are like, oh, she's happy go lucky and carefree. And of course, it's easy breezy. It's like, no, I've realized that I can't do this without support. I also
Yeah.
have a coach. I also have
Yeah.
therapists. I also have community of business owners who go through the highs and lows of life. And it pulls you out so quickly when you're not isolating yourself, like you said, because there's this tendency to want to isolate. And so, yeah, I'm so glad you shared this, Margaret, because this could completely change the game for somebody listening who's, when they're getting those feelings, isolates, feels bad for needing support, feels embarrassed for needing support. And the reality is, like, all the people I know thriving have a huge support system. I don't know
Yeah.
anyone thriving who
Yeah.
doesn't have that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is beautiful. And when you're thinking of just your motivation for what's possible, how has what's possible for your jewelry business shifted over the last 2 years?
Hmm. Fred, uh, I have to say, Robyn, Fred and I are both idealists. Like, it's not difficult for us to visualize and imagine, like, the utopian version of this business being successful. Um, and I think over the past 2 years being in the JBA and working with you, Robyn, has just allowed us to get the organization and the data to prove your vision can happen if you just keep chipping away,
Yeah.
and doing the next right thing, to quote Frozen.
Uh,
and and I will say, it's like, to the people listening, it's like, don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to get a coach. Now, a coach, and to use the sports metaphor, a coach doesn't play the game for you. The coach trains you and gives you the infrastructure and the training and the right direction to execute. You still have to go execute. There's still work involved. But the coach and having the team around you to support you, that I highly encourage. I think it's extremely important. If you're an artist, get help, get a coach. And I'm not being paid by by Robyn to say this, but it's like, yeah, okay, it doesn't have to be Robyn, but obviously we believe in Robyn. We believe in you and we believe in the program, and it's helped us a lot. So
mm.
I do recommend, anybody out there that's trying to start a business, get the support team around you to help you be successful, because you it is so difficult to do this alone.
Mhm.
Yeah. I'm
And specifically, I remember, you know, when we first joined and you were saying, yeah, write an email, it should take you, 15, max 30 minutes. And I was like, Oh gosh, it's taking me 2 hours to write an email. But over the couple of years, working on it consistently, it proved to me that if I just keep chipping away at it, that yes, now an email only takes me 15 to 20 minutes. And that's been proof to me that if I just keep working at it, that will allow me the extra time to go do what I want, and
Mm.
not always be working in the business.
Oh, I love that so much. And yeah, I'm glad that you shared that, Fred, because there's a lot of newer business owners who say that they don't want to join any programs or work with any coach because they want to feel like they built it alone. And I'm like, my friend, you're still very much building it. Like the
Yeah,
challenge of building a business is it's just so heavy. It's so much. And it's like, it's still going to have hard days. It's still going to
yeah,
have challenges. You're still going to navigate doubts and stuff, but it's like playing a completely different game with a support system around you. Um,
absolutely.
but one of my favorite things with you guys, well, specifically with Margaret, Fred, we haven't seen as much of you on camera yet. But Margaret, like one of my favorite things over the years has been seeing your personality come through more on Instagram. Talk to us about that because that to me is like just I've seen a shift. You're letting your quirky side, your fun, quirky side come out more. And I feel like it's building stronger connections. But you talk to us about like what you've seen and what that's felt like for you.
I mean, Robin, being seen on Instagram is probably the scariest thing about being a business owner and using Instagram as a marketing platform is, knowing that the more authentically I show up on Instagram, the more I'm building trust with my audience, that they're seeing the real me and that I'm not just out here selling a product. Um, and that is another thing that has just taken practice. And practice getting in front of the camera, being willing to then look at recordings of myself and decide what I did well and what I didn't do well. Um, I think so many people, even Fred. So Fred is now, owns a business and is trying to show up on Instagram. And I noticed that
Oh,
he recorded himself one time for an Instagram video and just immediately hated it. I don't ever want to do this again. I can't do this. And I was like, aren't you in the JBA? We're in this
I
space.
Yeah.
I know,
What's your
I
problem?
know, and it's like I have a Robin loop running in my head too. I can hear your voice now every time I do that. I just take messy action. So, uh, but yeah, it's like it's hard. And I recognize it just takes practice.
Mhm.
Your coaching is like okay, that you've got the what the 10-day sprint at the beginning when people join, and it's really an exercise of getting people used to talking in front of a camera, and it's just within the group so you can feel safe. And I've got to work on that myself. I fully admit it. It's like because it's hard, but
Yeah.
you've done a good job of like say it's the practice. It's
Yeah, it's exactly what you tell everybody, Robin. It's about the reps because the
Mhm.
reps are what helps that cringe factor just like slowly over time dissipate. Like it's
Mhm.
very cringy the first time, but by the 10th time, it's still only a little cringy. And that only happens with practice and putting in the reps.
I love this so much. And so for someone listening who's like, yeah, you'll never catch me dead on camera, like I don't believe this is possible, what would your advice be to them?
Mm.
practice. Just do it. Even if you don't publish it, just get in front of the camera. Join a support group like JBA and Robin and
Mhm.
post it within the community itself. Get feedback. It's a safe and supporting group. Find a safe and supporting group and publish it, just share it with them and get honest feedback and how you can do better. And bottom line is And it's I'm sitting here spouting this off, but I'm not practicing it myself. So
I know. But I was gonna say,
okay,
Fred, you know
I'm
what's
telling
coming
myself right
next
now.
week on our
Yeah,
calls. You're getting
yeah,
a challenge. Um,
yeah.
I
I
know.
see it coming.
To be
It's
honest,
already penciled in my calendar.
Yeah, yeah. Just shot myself in the foot on that one.
Uh,
so to be
um,
honest, like my initial reaction was like, maybe they should get a therapist.
oh my
I
gosh.
think, not like being dead set against not being seen on camera is just to me that's some true inner work that needs to be done there. And why don't you want to be seen? Or it's like do some journaling and figure out what exactly is it that is driving that fear of not wanting to be seen.
Yeah, because
For
it's
me
quite
personally,
sad.
knowing that I'm a Leo and it's in my astrology that I am meant to be seen. So for me, it's very important to get past that fear, knowing that like I'm meant to be seen. It's in my stars. So
And Robyn, you've
Uh,
mentioned this before. It's like, say, I've already lost the thread here. um, about being seen. Oh, with today's glut of AI slop, showing up in person and showing the vulnerable side of you, the real human side of you, I think resonates with people more than not showing up. Then nowadays when you see something, your first instinct is this real? Is this AI? You know, but if it's authentic and it's you, I think that comes across. It's pretty apparent when people see something like that to say, okay, that's real.
and maybe some practical
100%.
advice too would just be like if you're not ready to post it, just practice recording yourself on your own phone. Just practice by yourself alone, intending never to publish it. Like, and that will
Yeah.
just get you in the practice of talking with the camera on. That can be your
Mm,
first baby step.
I love it. Yeah, not a lot of risk there. But it's funny because we have a client who wouldn't even go on FaceTime with her mom for years.
Wow.
For
Yeah.
years until she came in and like started you, and now she's on camera all the time, like you would never guess. But it's crazy how these things that we see as like a block in business is actually blocking the rest of your life as well. If you have a visibility block in business, I can guarantee it's showing up in other areas of your life as well. Have you
Yeah.
noticed a shift in like how you connect to people or how you show up or how you take up the space in your personal life from like showing up and building this business?
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's been cyclical that one helps the other more, and my personal work has helped my business work. And then seeing the proof and success in the business has proved to me that the personal work is worth it, which then makes me just, you know, want to keep the balance there. And the organization and the business helps me keep the balance there. I do put in a number of hours per week working on my own personal stuff that helps me show up better in the business. And then uh, just getting the organization and the structure in the business is what allows me to have all the time for the personal work.
I love that. That is beautiful. Now, you guys have crushed wholesale. And I know maybe you're like, but we haven't hit the biggest goals that we have and big dreams that we have of this, like that. But I don't even know if you were doing wholesale before 2 years ago.
No,
You weren't?
no.
Okay.
Mm.
So talk to us a little bit about like your favorite wholesale wins that you've had, because I know you had some wild ones at some events a few months ago.
We've had a nice little wholesale journey, I would say. Since getting coaching with you, Robin, we're now in two places that have done really well and a handful of others that are like meh. But the data has shown us just in those two that are doing really well that it is so worth it. The
Oh yeah.
income from those two alone has been substantial. Um, and I remember you saying, Robin, that if you went back in time and did your business all over again, the first thing you would focus on would be getting into retail.
Yeah.
And I heard that. um, and now I understand why, because once you're in the store, they'll continue to place orders, and that's just an ongoing revenue and relationship building as well. And then word of mouth helps spread too.
can, can I brag on myself a little bit?
Sure.
So
Do it.
my favorite win is the fact that so again, we have all the SOPs in process in place. And while Margaret was in India, I was doing outreach for her, and basically the emails looked like they came from Margaret, and I was doing outreach to a bunch of retailers, and I was able to get a positive response from. Is it okay to say the business online, or I don't know?
You might
Oh,
not want to say it in case somebody goes right after them, but you can.
yeah, okay. Uh, well, so a very prestigious location for us responded positively. I sent them a pendant as to show, and they placed an order, and all before Margaret even got back from India. And then
Wow.
well, actually 3 weeks after they had that first order, they placed another order because they were almost sold out. By the time we shipped the order, after 4 weeks, they had sold out their first order. So, yeah, and
Wow.
all of that because we had the processes in place. And I would also like to point out that our ability to be into retail, I don't think would have been possible pre JBA and pre your help, because Margaret had 8,497 designs with 16,000 variations on each design, and 17 different chain links, and 37 different chain varieties, and so it was an infinite. And it's like she'd make something, if it didn't sell immediately, she'd create a new design, and that was not sustainable for going out for retail. And your structure helped us and helped Margaret focus on paring down and saying, okay, what are our core designs and what are core products that sell well, and focus on that and get it to a point where we can now sustain and support retail operations. So now we are going full bore chasing after a retail spaces that can carry our jewelry. So yeah,
Mm.
we now have everything we need to do that. So it's just a matter of being persistent, taking messy action, and going after them.
I love that. Yeah, it's been so wonderful to see and so fun for you, Margaret, going on vacation, well, a meditation trip, coming back. And Fred's not only been holding down the fort and like managing the rest of the business, but like actively going and getting you wholesale orders. How good did that feel?
It feels amazing. Fred is amazing.
Mm.
This even
Yeah.
happens at festivals too, where when I go to get some food or go to look at other booths or whatnot, I come back and he's made sales. I mean, he really is the chief hot officer around here because he brings in the ladies.
Oh my
I,
goodness.
well, I've been at every festival Margaret's ever done, so I've been there to support her. But I'm around it and I'm helping her, so I know the story and I believe in it. I believe in the meaning and the feel of this pendant. So
Mm.
it's easy for me to talk to it, and I'm very comfortable talking to people about the pendant at any point. So in any place. So I was in the bank just recently wearing my pendant, and the bank manager said, "Oh, I love your pendant," and so I gave her the entire story, and she asked for Margaret's website, so I gave her all the
Oh.
information. So
I love it. That's so beautiful. And so I have a quick question for both of you because like just having this conversation with you, I can tell how lit up you both are by this business and like the sense of purpose it gives you. And I think a lot of people when they're building businesses get so caught up in certain milestones that they forget about like there's so many things to celebrate in business. Financial wins are one, having ownership of your time is another, but actually like the sense of purpose and the excitement to wake up in the morning to work on things that you love, to work with or like build communities around people who are your kind of vibe, all of this, like that to me is such a significant win as well. What's your favorite thing about building this business?
Wow. I don't know quite what to say. Uh, I think I'll just go with the first thing that comes to mind. I think the best thing about building this business is that it's making my dreams come true. So when Fred and I have this idealist picture of like how good it could be, slowly building this business has just proved to me that that vision is possible. So uh, that alone sustains me. I really, have lofty goals, and even though sometimes I get down on myself, it's the little things along the way that show me it's possible, and just that determination to know that in the end I will be so proud of myself for getting there and
I'm
putting
already
putting
proud
in
of
the
you.
reps and doing the work that it takes.
I think you should be proud of yourself now.
I was going to
So
say the same thing.
it's like,
You should be so proud of yourself, Margaret.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
the work you've done yourself, you've kept going when I know things have always, sometimes been tough. But we're building. One of my favorite things is we're building it as a family business. Margaret mentioned I've started my own business. Well, my business is really supporting Margaret's business and other
Mm-hmm.
artists. So, everything that we're doing is really, and our daughter is joined in with that. So we've got, and our plans, we've got other family members we're planning to bring in as we build the business that have they do have the skills that we want to use, and we'll be bringing other people in as we grow. But we're building a sustainable family business that is mindful of living a good life, and we're not pursuing okay, it's a dollar goal. It is a lifestyle goal.
That is beautiful. That is so beautiful. And yeah, I think some people forget the impact that you'll have just on the people around you when you build a business and you can hire like I've hired multiple family members and multiple other people in our company, and it's you forget the impact of just that on all these people's lives. So I love that you have this, and we'll be bringing you on the podcast to dive into your business, Fred. I can't wait for that. It's going to be so good. So to wrap up, I want to ask you guys some rapid fire questions for someone who's listening to this, who's like, this sounds amazing, but like, here's why I still don't think the Jewelry Business Academy or working with Robyn's for me. So some rapid fire questions for you, just like say whatever comes to mind. For someone thinking, I've already spent money on support before and it didn't work, what would you say?
Oh my gosh. I have spent money on
Yeah.
support prior to Robyn, and I really think if I had had Robyn from the very beginning, 9 years in, this would already be a seven-figure business. But instead, 7 years in, I had to take 2 years just to organize the crap I had made of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Your business, or the program you have created, Robyn, is, I think, unique. You have the solid foundation of marketing, which is oh Lord, if unless you're an expert in marketing, please get help with that. But you've got the solid foundation with marketing. You built your own jewelry brand. So now you're helping jewelry artists. So you've got a strong foundation to help artists. Now yes, go look at other coaches if you want. But the reality is you could spend other money and you say, okay, I've wasted that money. Yeah, we did. Trust me, it's painful. It hurts. But that doesn't mean it's time to give up. Not if you want to live your dream. You keep going and find the right program. And I strongly encourage you to look at Robyn and the JBA because it's been a game changer for us.
I love that so much. And for someone who's thinking, well, yeah, but I'm not profitable yet. My business is even maybe making a loss right now. So I need to wait till I'm making money to invest in support. What would you say?
The best place that I learned to do revenue driving tasks was in the JBA. So, oh gosh.
Invest in yourself is what I'd say. It's like,
Mhm.
if you're if you're really serious about wanting to start this as a business, think of it as an investment in yourself. Everybody needs help and everybody needs a community. And the JBA provides that. Robyn provides that. So the reality is like, you think of this as an investment in yourself and get started.
I love that. And I think we touched on this earlier, but like just a quick question for you. For someone who's like, I should be able to figure this out on my own, what would you say?
That's like generational trauma. That is like pull yourself up by your bootstraps kind of talk that your grandmother or grandfather said. That's just to me it's like this toxic American mentality, individualism, and it just is not leading you anywhere good. The strongest systems will be built in community with other people. It's just impossible to do it alone, and that mindset is not gonna do you any good in the long run.
And while I agree
That
with
sounded harsh.
while I
It's true.
agree with that overall sentiment, technically, is it possible to do it yourself? Absolutely. So all you have to do is be an expert in marketing, in sales, in manufacturing, in sourcing, in photography, in modeling, in social media, and there's probably a handful of other things. So all you have to do is be an expert in all of those categories, and then yes, you can do it yourself. But is that worth it? No, it's not.
Yeah, no, that's so true. And this is a really good one because for someone who's thinking of coming and joining us, who's like, I don't really know if a group program is going to give me specific enough help. What would you say?
We have plenty of opportunities to get specific help in those 2-hour weekly calls with you. That is where and in the Facebook group as well, like when specific help is needed, I mean, I feel like that's plenty of opportunity.
Yeah.
Quite honestly.
Yeah, I mean, you say 2-hour calls, but there's 2-hour calls a week. That's 4 hours live one-on-one where you hear other people's questions and the ability to ask your own. And lately we've been with the program 2 years. We're going to be going. We'll be here for a long time, and we join the calls every chance we get, even when we don't have questions, because invariably you don't know what you don't know. And listening to other artists and listening to their stories and their questions, it never fails that when during a call we'll say, oh, that's I'm glad she asked that, because we learned from that as well. So yeah, there's plenty of opportunity to get very detailed specifics. And you're very good about answering. If you post it in the Facebook group, you're always answering, and other artists are jump in. You mentioned cheerleader. I and probably
Fred
I
will be
well,
jumping in.
yeah, I'll jump in and offering my 2 cents frequently, and
Uh,
I'm willing to help any member of the JBA. They're like family, so I'm always willing to help any member if they have technical questions. I can help with the technology side. So.
Oh, I love that. And for someone who's like, this is awesome, sounds amazing, definitely want to join. It's on my dream board for my business, but like, I'm going to wait a few months or a few years. What would you say to them?
I mean, you have to do what's right for you, but if you're really serious about starting a jewelry business, it's like delaying it is just costing you money.
Mm.
So invest in yourself.
Yeah, I love that. And like having experienced the program and the jewelry business sprint and the bonus vault and the group coaching calls, well, the hot seat coaching calls and the private community and even just the retreats and stuff, who do you think the Jewelry Business Academy is ready for?
Hmm. It's for the
Okay.
people that want to build a successful business. I think prior to joining the JBA and getting coaching with you, Robyn, it, people could see that I was a great artist, but they couldn't see that I was a good business person. And it was important to me not just to be an artist, but to build a successful business. And I could not have done that without your help.
Mm. I love that. This is beautiful. Guys, this has been such a fun conversation. And I know we're going to have a whole lot of listeners who are like, I need a whole lot of Margaret and Fred in my life. How can I follow along? How can I connect? I think I need a centering pendant to help me get through the highs and lows of business here. Where can our listeners find you and how can they support you?
I will say the first centering pendant I ever made, the affirmation I used with it was "I am capable." So it did help
Mm,
me
I love
through that.
it.
And we are at centeringpendants.com is our website, or on Instagram at Centering Pendants. And Fred is building artist management studios.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for coming and joining me. And we'll link all those in the show notes so anyone listening can follow along. And we're going to bring Fred back on very soon to dive into your business because you've got a very exciting project that you've been working on for
Yeah.
almost a year now.
Yeah. I'm very
So that's
excited
going to
about it.
be good. But thank you. Is there anything that we didn't touch on that you wanted to share before we wrap up, or we are good to go?
I just tell people, it's like, okay, if you're an artist, sign up. It's worth it. You will not regret it. So
Mm.
come on and join us. See you in the Facebook group.
Yeah, I love that. Well, thank you so much, guys. This has been so much fun.
Yeah.
Thanks, Robyn.